Hi, it's Aunt Taylor Pittman with Cooking Light. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm here today to share some very easy, very quick, very simple recipes that will use up some of your Thanksgiving leftovers. Now, I'm not talking about the types of Thanksgiving leftovers that you might be thinking about. You know, the turkey, the dressing, the stuffing, those types of things. Actually, they're on day 4, so they might be past their prime now. I'm talking instead about some of the ingredients you probably bought to prepare your Thanksgiving feast that are crowding your fridge, and these are some recipes that are easy ways to use them up. So the first recipe I'm going to prepare is our celery and parsley salad with wine-soaked raisins. So wine-soaked raisins, awesome, awesome. Just a very easy way to enhance salads. You could even kind of spike your morning oatmeal with wine-soaked raisins. But it's a great way to use up little by little some of the sherry or Madeira or Marsala or even just white wine that you might have bought that you want to just kind of peck away at. So I have 1/3 cup of golden raisins here that I microwaved with 3 tablespoons of sherry in this case. That's just going to plump the fruit up. This works with any dried fruit. So if you have some dried apricots, chop them up. Dried cherries, dried cranberries, anything like that will just absorb that wonderful flavor of the wine. And again, this works on any sort of salad. Or if you want to maybe imbibe just a teeny bit with your morning oatmeal, it would be delicious there too. So I'm going to set that aside and talk about our 2 real star ingredients here. Parsley. So if you bought parsley for the Thanksgiving feast, you know, when you buy a bunch of parsley, this is flat leaf parsley, you know, it's a large bunch and you may have a hard time using up all of it and you don't want it to go to waste. So make it the base of a salad. Same thing with celery. So I have here some of the parsley leaves. So you just want to take your sprigs of parsley. These are the greens of our salad here, and just pull off the leaves. These are gorgeous leaves, great bright flavor. So think of it as a salad green in this case. The salad is so fresh and refreshing. It's also great after all the kind of heavier eating maybe you've been doing over the weekend when you need something a little fresher and a little lighter. So just pull off those leaves. I've got 2 cups of leaves, which is about half a bunch. So this is, you know, I bought a bunch this morning. I still have about half of it left. So if you used half of a bunch of parsley for Thanksgiving, you have plenty to make this salad. Okay, and then I also have some celery, about 5 or 6 stalks, and the leaves from the celery stalks. So, you know, when you get down to this part of the celery, maybe if you're making soup, that's where you would use it, but it's also great for the salad. So the leaves are super flavorful. Celery is great for salads. You know, I think a lot of people just buy it when they're making soup or when they're making something like, you know, stuffing or something like that. But it's wonderful raw for salads because it's crunchy. It has sort of a natural salinity, meaning, you know, it kind of naturally tastes a little salty. So we want to use the leaves, and then I'm just thinly slicing on the diagonal the stalks. And if I chop up a few of the leaves in here too, that's okay. Okay, so I have 2 cups of parsley leaves over here, and then 2 cups of the sliced celery. Got my wine-soaked raisins. Everything's going to come together very quickly now. So the dressing is super simple. It's just a little bit of olive oil and fresh lemon juice. So if you have half a lemon left over from something that you made on Thanksgiving, here you go. Here's a great way to use it up. A little bit of salt and pepper, and that's it for the dressing. Super, super simple, but that citrus is going to make this taste really nice and bright and fresh. Just whisk it up, get it somewhat emulsified. Okay, and then I'm going to toss in the celery stalks that I have chopped up. Now, ideally, you're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes to kind of allow the flavors to marry and allow the dressing to sort of soak in a little bit. But in the interest of time, I'm going to mix everything up here. So these are the celery leaves, and then the parsley leaves, 2 cups of those. And then the wine-soaked raisins. Most of the wine has already been absorbed into the fruit, but if there's a little bit of liquid left, that's fine, that's great. It will combine with the dressing and add more flavor. So you just toss this up. It's really pretty. The flavors are so lovely here. This would go great with a turkey sandwich, go great with a bowl of soup. Don't just think about it in terms of using up Thanksgiving leftovers. This is great any time of year. It's crunchy, it's fresh, it's bright. The finishing touch is a little bit of Parmesan cheese, which I'm gonna add on to a finished plated serving. So let me just place some of this here on my plate.
And we have a question.
Oh, great.
Do you think that this would hold up? Like, could you take it for lunch?
Oh, that's a great question. So here's what I would, if you were taking this for lunch, if there was a way that you could assemble your portion of it to have the celery in the dressing and then just kind of pile the leaves on top of the container and then shake it all up right before you eat, that would be ideal because the parsley leaves will sort of wilt after they sit in the dressing for a while. But the celery, of course, will hold up and stay nice and crunchy. So if there's a way that you can sort of build it that way, that would be ideal. Okay, and then I'm just gonna shave on a little bit of parm ridge. That wonderful salty, nutty cheese is great with the bright, fresh flavors here from the lemon juice, the sweetness of the raisins, and that sort of herbaceousness from the parsley. So that's one wonderful dish. Uses up that last bit of parsley, those celery stalks that you have hanging out. So that's one dish. And now I have another really fun one to share. So this is curried sweet potato and yogurt dip. So it starts with a little bit of curry powder. I did this ahead of time. It's 3/4 teaspoon of curry powder. And to enhance the flavor of that, I toasted it in a skillet, a dry skillet over, I think it's medium heat. Let me make sure. Yeah, medium heat for about 1.5 minutes until it smells toasty and super fragrant. And what that does is it takes the curry powder from being, you know how sometimes it can taste a little musty? Instead, this makes it taste toasty and super fragrant and enhances all the flavors. So kind of bumps up the flavors and makes them better. So I'm going to make a dip here in the blender. So I have 1 cup of mashed sweet potato. So this was just, if you have an extra sweet potato hanging out from that you didn't need, you can just microwave it or bake it, scoop out the pulp. You want a cup of that. If you have prepared mashed sweet potatoes, you know, prepared like mashed potatoes with butter and milk, that could work here too, just so long as it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. If you added a lot of sugar, maybe just leave that aside and enjoy it on its own. But we want something more, a little bit more savory here. So I have a cup of my mashed sweet potato, 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt. That might be something that you're, you know, usually there's no, I have no problem finding ways to use up leftover Greek yogurt, you know, smoothies, breakfast, whatnot. But this is a nice way to use it up too. I have a 1/2 cup of water. Now I'm putting this in a blender. You could also use a food processor, but a blender is just gonna give you really creamy results. Food processor works too. It's just gonna have a little bit more of a rustic texture. Have a 1/4 cup of tahini. So that's gonna give us an almost hummus-like flavor and texture. And then a little bit of fresh lemon juice. Again, if you have 1/2 lemon hanging out, here's a good way to use it up. Some fresh ginger that I grated. You could use dried ginger if you don't have fresh on hand. I would start with a 1/2 teaspoon and see how that tastes. If you need more, you can always add a little more. And then some salt and that toasted curry powder. So let me get this going here in the blender till it gets nice and smooth. Looking pretty good. So if you have a high-powered blender, which this one is pretty high-powered, you can get to a smooth, creamy texture in very little time. So here's one thing I love about this. Not only does this recipe use up a little bit of that sweet potato that you might have hanging out, but it also is a vehicle for some of the leftover veggies you might have on hand. So let's say you might have some more celery on hand. You can use those as a dipper. Some carrots, bell pepper, even radicchio leaves. So let me get this guy here. I have a radish that I forgot to slice. I'll slice it up in just a second.
And we have a quick question.
Yep.
They want to know, could you use sour cream instead of yogurt in this dip?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea. You could definitely use sour cream here instead of yogurt. The yogurt has a little bit more tang, so just taste the dip. If you're using the sour cream, taste it after you blend it up and see if you want just a little bit more lemon juice to kind of brighten the flavor. But yes, sour cream would work beautifully. So you see this is super creamy, kind of looks a little bit like hummus. Has that nice sweet potato in there, which gives it a little bit of course, sweetness. It has the curry powder. Let me just slice this up. I meant to have this because it's so pretty. So you know, you have like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Some carrots left over. Ooh, this is a pretty one. This is watermelon radish, one of my favorite ingredients. Maybe you bought some to use in a salad, you have some hanging out, or you just have one hanging out. You can make it part of your little crudité platter.
And we have another quick question.
Great.
How long will this dip last?
Oh, that's a great question. This dip will last easily 3 to 5 days in your fridge. I like to cover the surface with plastic wrap or whatever type of covering, kind of place it on the top directly so that, you know, there's no chance of it kind of getting a little skin on top. But yes, this will hold up really nicely. So that's it. So you have this wonderful parsley salad that goes with pretty much anything. It could be a light lunch. You could add some roasted chicken, or, you know, it's day 4 of your turkey. I'm not going to encourage you to use any more of your turkey, but you could add some protein to this to make it a main dish. And then we have the lovely sweet potato dip. So that's it. 2 wonderful ways to use up those ingredients that are maybe still crowding out your fridge that you need to use up. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you learned something here that you can use in your own kitchen. If you are watching on Facebook, please like and share this video. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe so that you'll get notifications when we go live. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week.